a young boy burned with an insatiable hunger for victory. To him, success meant crossing the finish line first, leaving everyone else behind in a blur of speed and determination. His heart raced not just with the effort of running, but with the fire of ambition, a need to prove himself unmatched. In the village, where dusty paths wound through fields and humble homes, he entered every race he could find. Each time his legs churned faster than the others, his focus razor sharp, and he claimed the top spot. The crowd's cheers roared in his ears, their applause a sweet reward that fueled his drive. Medals and ribbons piled up, each one a testament to his dominance, yet the hunger never faded. His grandfather, a man of quiet wisdom with weathered hands and eyes that seemed to see beyond the present, observed silently. While the village buzzed with pride for the boy's triumphs, the old man's face remained unreadable, neither praising nor scolding. The boy, too caught in the thrill of victory, barely noticed. He thrived on the rush of outpacing his rivals, the fleeting moment when he stood alone at the finish line, basking in the crowd's adoration. To him, this was the essence of achievement, being first, being the best. One day, the grandfather approached the boy with a new challenge. He had signed him up for a different kind of race, one unlike any the boy had run before. This time he wouldn't race alone. The old man introduced him to his partner, an elderly friend whose frame was frail, his steps slow and deliberate. The boy's confidence wavered for a moment, confusion flickering in his eyes. How could he win with someone who could barely keep up? But his grandfather's steady gaze held no room for argument, and the boy, trusting the old man's wisdom, agreed to run. The race day arrived, and the village gathered along the course, their anticipation humming in the air. The starting signal rang out, sharp and clear. The boy surged forward, his legs a blur, driven by the familiar urge to claim victory. His partner, the old man, shuffled behind, each step a labor of effort. The boy glanced back, frustration rising. He could feel the gap between them widening, the weight of the old man's slowness pulling at his dreams of another first-place finish. The finish line loomed ahead and the boy's instincts took over. He sprinted alone, crossing it with the same fierce speed that had always carried him to glory. But as he stood there, chest heaving, something felt wrong. The crowd's cheers were muted, scattered, nothing like the thunderous praise he was used to. Their eyes weren't fixed on him with admiration, but darted elsewhere, toward the course where the old man still struggled, far behind. The boy's triumph felt hollow, the ribbon in his hand, a lifeless thing. His grandfather approached, his expression still calm but carrying a weight that made the boy pause. Without a word, the old man gestured for him to look back at his partner, still inching forward, alone. The boy hesitated, his pride tugging at him to stay put, to hold on to the victory he'd earned. But his grandfather's gaze was unwavering, a quiet command that spoke louder than words. Swallowing his frustration, the boy jogged back to the old man. He reached out, taking the frail hand in his own. The old man's grip was weak but warm, and together they moved forward, step by step. The boy adjusted his pace, no longer racing but walking, matching the rhythm of his partner. The crowd watched, their murmurs growing into something softer, something deeper. As they crossed the finish line together, the boy braced for silence, expecting the sting of a lesser victory. Instead, the air erupted with cheers, louder and more heartfelt than any he'd ever heard. The crowd's faces glowed with something beyond admiration. It was respect, gratitude, a shared joy that warmed the boy's chest in a way no solo victory ever had. He looked at his partner, the old man's tired eyes crinkling with a faint smile, and then at his grandfather, whose nod carried a quiet pride. Later, as the sun dipped low, casting golden light over the village, the grandfather sat with the boy. He explained in his steady way that the race wasn't about being the fastest or standing alone at the finish. True victory wasn't measured by outrunning others, but by who you lifted up along the way. The boy listened, the lesson sinking deep. He thought of the old man's trembling hand in his, the weight of their shared steps, and the crowd's cheers that hadn't celebrated speed but something greater, compassion, unity, the strength to carry another forward. In the days that followed, the boy returned to racing, but something had shifted. He still ran with fire in his veins, still chased the thrill of the finish line, but his eyes no longer fixed solely on the horizon. He noticed the runners beside him, the ones who stumbled, the ones who lagged behind. Sometimes he slowed to offer a hand, to share a moment of encouragement, to help them find their footing. The ribbons and medals still came, but they meant less than the quiet moments when a struggling runner crossed the line because he'd stayed by their side. The village noticed the change. The boy, once a solitary streak of speed, became something more, a leader, not just in pace but in heart. The crowd's cheers grew warmer, their pride rooted not in his victories but in the way he ran, with purpose, with care. His grandfather watched, the faintest smile breaking through his stoic facade, a silent acknowledgement that the boy had learned. Years passed, and the boy grew into a man, his legs still strong, his heart stronger. He ran many races, some alone, some with others, but always with the lesson carved deep within him. Life, he realized, was not a sprint to outpace everyone else. It was a journey, a long and winding course, where the greatest triumph came not from standing alone at the end, but from ensuring others crossed with you. The true victory was in the hands held, the burdens shared, the moments when you chose to lift someone up rather than leave them behind. And so he ran, not just to win, but to make the journey matter. For in the end, the finish line wasn't a place to claim glory, but a moment to look back and see who you'd brought along with you. That was the victory that endured, the one that echoed long after the cheers faded, the one that made every step worthwhile.